Ambassador Kreldar walked into the meeting room with 4 arms spread wide. His silver skin reflected the bright lights above as hundreds of alien species watched through screens from across the galaxy. The room was huge and made of crystal that hummed softly. This was the most important meeting in years. The Galactic Council had ruled space for 3,000 years. They controlled trade routes, settled wars, and decided which planets could be colonized. Every species in the galaxy respected their power. Every species except one. Kreldar looked down at the small human table in the corner of the room. 3 humans sat there quietly. They looked so ordinary compared to the massive alien beings around them. Ambassador Lee Miho sat in the middle, writing notes on a simple tablet. He wore a plain blue suit and looked like he was attending a business meeting, instead of facing the most powerful organization in the galaxy. By order of the Galactic Council, Kreldar began, his voice booming through speakers that translated his words into 800 different languages. Humanity has been found guilty of serious crimes against galactic law. The other aliens in the room nodded their various heads, tentacles, and other body parts. This was expected. The Council always listed crimes before delivering punishment. You have expanded too fast into space, Kreldar continued. You have built colonies without permission. You have ignored our territorial boundaries. You have refused to follow standard protocols that every civilized species must obey. Miho looked up from his notes and smiled politely, like someone had just told him about a minor scheduling change. The Council has discussed your actions for many cycles, Kreldar said, raising his voice higher. We have been patient. We have sent warnings. We have tried to guide you toward proper behavior, but you continue to ignore our authority. Behind Kreldar, a massive display screen showed images of human ships flying through space, human colonies spreading across planets, and human traders doing business without council permits. The evidence was clear and damning. Therefore, Kreldar announced, the Council gives humanity one final chance. You have exactly one standard galactic cycle to submit to our oversight. You will stop all unauthorized expansion. You will place your military under Council command. You will follow all established laws and regulations. The room grew quiet except for the soft humming of the translation systems. Every alien representative leaned forward to hear what would happen if the humans refused. This was the moment that decided the fate of an entire species. If you refuse these terms, Kreldar said slowly, letting each word sink in, the Council will impose a complete economic blockade against humanity. No alien species will be allowed to trade with you. Your ships will be turned away from all civilized systems. You will be cut off from galactic society entirely. Some of the smaller alien species made worried sounds. Economic blockades had destroyed entire civilizations before. Trade was the lifeblood of spacefaring species. Without it, most planets could not survive. And if the blockade fails to bring compliance, Kreldar continued, his voice now thundering through the chamber, the Council will authorize military intervention. Our combined fleets will ensure that humanity learns to follow galactic law. The threat was clear and absolute. The military might have 847 advanced civilizations against one young species that had barely left their home system. It should have been terrifying. Miho tapped his stylus twice against his tablet and looked up with the same polite expression he had worn throughout the entire speech. The other humans at his table seemed equally calm. One of them was even checking her watch. That's interesting, Miho said in a conversational tone. Thanks for letting us know about all that. Kreldar paused. This was not the response he had expected. Where was the fear? Where were the desperate pleas for mercy? Where was the immediate surrender that every other species had shown when faced with such overwhelming force? Do you understand the seriousness of this ultimatum? Kreldar asked, leaning forward on a ceremonial platform. Oh, yes, we understand, Miho replied, standing up and gathering his papers. It sounds like you've put a lot of thought into this. We'll need some time to review everything through the proper channels and get back to you. He tucked his tablet under his arm and walked toward the door. The other 2 humans followed him, chatting quietly about lunch plans. Ambassador Lee, Kreldar called out, using the human's full name for emphasis. This is not a negotiation. This is a final warning. Miho stopped at the door and turned back with a friendly smile. Right, got it. Like I said, we'll be in touch. Then he left. The massive chamber fell completely silent. In 3,000 years of Council history, no species had ever responded to an ultimatum by saying they would be in touch. The assembled representatives looked at each other in confusion, their various forms of communication creating a low buzz of bewilderment. Kreldar stood alone on his platform, staring at the empty doorway where the humans had been. For the first time in his long career, he had no idea what to do next. The humans had not declared war. They had not begged for mercy. They had not even seemed particularly concerned about the most serious threat any species could face. They had simply walked away. 3 months had passed since the ultimatum. Council Intelligence Coordinator Vex Mila stood in the center of the analysis chamber, her 8 tentacles wrapped around different data screens. Each screen showed reports from across human space, and none of them made sense. Colony ship New Dawn launched from Earth yesterday. She reported to the emergency council session. Right on schedule. No delays, no changes to their original plan. Chairman Torgesh shifted his massive body on the ceremonial throne. His species had conquered 12 systems before joining the council. He knew what panic looked like, what fear smelled like, what desperation sounded like in 100 different languages. This was none of those things. Maybe they do not understand, suggested Councilmember Crixtal, her crystalline form flickering with nervous energy. Perhaps their translation systems failed. We sent the message in their own language, Vex Mila replied, multiple times, in writing, audio, and video formats. Ambassador Lee confirmed receipt and understanding. Another tentacle brought up a new report. Mars agricultural stations increased food production by 15% this quarter. Venus mining operations expanded to 3 new sites. Jupiter's moons launched 2 new research facilities. The council chamber filled with confused murmurs. When the mighty Korthari Empire received their ultimatum centuries ago, they had immediately recalled all ships and prepared for siege. The proud Velnari had sent desperate diplomats begging for reduced terms. The warlike Zethkani had at least mobilized their fleets for a hopeless last stand. Humans were apparently planting more crops. Show us their news broadcasts, Torgesh commanded. The main display activated, showing human information networks from across their space. A cheerful human woman with short black hair smiled at the camera. Good evening. I'm Park Gina with tonight's news. The weather on New Sol will be partly cloudy, with a chance of rain. Traffic on the orbital highways is moving smoothly. And in local sports, the Luna City Bears defeated the Mars Miners 3-1 in yesterday's Gravity Ball Championship. The report continued for several minutes, covering trade agreements, scientific discoveries, and something called a pancake-eating contest. Near the end, almost as an afterthought, the broadcaster mentioned the Council's ultimatum. In other news, the Galactic Council has requested some changes to our expansion policies. Government officials say they are reviewing the matter through standard procedures. In entertainment news, a video of a cat riding a cleaning robot has been viewed over 2 billion times this week. The broadcast ended. The council chamber sat in stunned silence. They spent more time talking about the cat, whispered Council Member Drixvor. Vex Mila's tentacles brought up more screens. Economic reports show normal trading patterns. Stock markets are stable. Construction projects continue on schedule. We have detected no military mobilization, no emergency meetings, no signs of societal disruption. Perhaps it is a trap, suggested military advisor Quindar, his bioluminescent patches flashing rapidly. A clever strategy to make us underestimate them. For 3 months, Torgesh asked. They would maintain perfect calm for 3 months as a strategy. More reports flowed in. Human ships continued their regular routes, carrying cargo and passengers as if nothing had changed. Human scientists published research papers about black hole navigation and improved fusion reactors. Human children went to schools where they learned mathematics, literature, and something called Earth history. The most disturbing report came from the border systems. Council observation posts have recorded dozens of human vessels passing through contested space. When challenged by patrol ships, the humans responded with polite messages thanking them for their concern and continuing on their planned routes. They are not ignoring us, Vexmila explained to the increasingly agitated council members. They acknowledge our communications. They respond to our challenges. They simply treat everything as routine administrative matters. Ambassador Ominji had sent exactly one official response to the Council's 17 urgent follow-up messages. It read, "The Human Systems Alliance acknowledges receipt of your message dated Standard Calendar 2387.156. Your concerns are being forwarded to the appropriate departments for review. Please allow 6 to 8 weeks for processing. Thank you for your patience." 6 to 8 weeks for processing. The fate of their entire species. And they wanted 6 to 8 weeks for processing. What do their leaders say in private? Torgesh demanded. That is the strangest part, Vexmila admitted. Our intelligence networks have intercepted thousands of human communications. Government officials, military commanders, business leaders, ordinary citizens. They discuss the ultimatum the same way they discuss weather patterns or tax policies. She brought up a recorded conversation between 2 human military officers. "Did you see that thing from the space lizards?" one asked. "Yeah, Jim forwarded it to me. Looks like another bureaucratic headache. Good thing that's above my pay grade." Then they spent 20 minutes talking about their children's school performances. The council members looked at each other with growing unease. Every species they had encountered treated the council with either reverence or terror, respect or hatred. Something. Humans seem to view the most powerful organization in the galaxy as a minor administrative inconvenience. They do not fear us, Torgesh said slowly, the words feeling strange in his mouth. They do not respect us. They do not hate us. No, Vexmila confirmed, her tentacles trembling. They simply do not care. Council Military Coordinator Zaxhorn stood before the tactical display, watching red warning lights blink across the galaxy map. 6 weeks had passed since the Council began implementing their promised sanctions, and the results were not what anyone expected. Human Trade Route 17 has been blocked successfully, reported Lieutenant Velcari, her scales shifting to a nervous blue color. Their cargo ships have been turned away from the Centauri Junction for 3 days. Good, Zaxhorn replied. That route carried 60% of their manufactured goods to the outer colonies. They should be feeling significant pressure by now. But the next report made his confidence waver. Sir, our scouts report that human ships have started using the abandoned Kepler Passage. They are moving the same amount of cargo, with only a 12-hour delay. Zaxhorn's 4 eyes narrowed. The Kepler Passage had been deemed too dangerous for regular use centuries ago. Asteroid fields, unstable gravity wells, and radiation storms made it a death trap for most species. How many ships have they lost? None, sir. They appear to have modified their vessels with additional shielding and better navigation systems. Similar reports came from across the galaxy. Blocked trade routes resulted in new human pathways appearing within days. Frozen bank accounts led to alternative financial networks, often run by smaller species who quietly appreciated having options outside council control. Diplomatic isolation created new alliance opportunities with systems the council had previously ignored. Captain Kim Jaiwoo of the merchant vessel Prosperity faced the council's enforcement efforts firsthand. Her ship carried medical supplies to the colony on Kepler Prime when a massive council cruiser dropped out of hyperspace directly in front of her. The alien ship was 5 times larger than her modest cargo hauler, bristling with weapons that could reduce her vessel to atoms in seconds. Warning lights filled her bridge as her crew looked to her for guidance. Human vessel, came the transmission, translated through multiple languages before reaching her in Korean. You are ordered to stop immediately and prepare for boarding. You are in violation of Council Sanctions Protocol 7. Jaiwoo took a sip of her coffee and activated her communication system with the calm expression of someone dealing with a minor paperwork error. Council vessel, this is Captain Kim of the merchant ship Prosperity. I am transmitting Form 7 Alpha 9, subsection 12, which requires 72-hour advance notice for all boarding procedures under Intersystem Maritime Code 445.7. There was a pause. Form what? I am also sending Form 12 Beta 3, which indicates that this system falls under the Freeport Commerce Agreement of 2387, making your current blockade technically illegal without proper filing procedures. Her fingers moved across her control panel with practiced efficiency. Additionally, Form 19 Gamma shows that my cargo manifest was pre-approved by the Neutral Commerce Board, giving me transit rights through this sector. The pause grew longer. Jai will use the time to finish her coffee and check her navigation logs. These appear to be legitimate legal documents, the alien captain finally replied, confusion clear in his translated voice. Of course they are. I filed them last Tuesday through the proper channels. You can board my ship in approximately 69 hours if you follow standard procedure. I will be at Kepler Prime by then, obviously, but that is what the regulations require. Jaiwu watched on her scanner as the massive council ship powered down its weapons. Nobody had trained the aliens to deal with an enemy that fought back using bureaucracy and legal paperwork. Have a nice day, she added cheerfully, engaging her engines and continuing toward her destination. The Council's response grew more desperate as weeks passed. They increased the number of patrol ships, expanded the list of block systems, and even began confiscating human cargo found in neutral space. Each action met the same bewildering response. Humans adapted quickly, found alternative solutions, and treated every escalation as a routine business problem to be solved. Council Intelligence Director Nexval examined reports from enforcement teams across the galaxy. The humans have created 17 new trade routes in the past month, she reported to the emergency session. They have established banking relationships with 43 species we had not considered significant economic players. Most disturbing of all, their cargo efficiency has actually improved by 8%. How is that possible? Demanded Chairman Torgesh. They are treating our sanctions as an optimization challenge, Nexval explained. Instead of trying to maintain their old systems, they are building better ones. Our blockade forced them to discover that many of their previous methods were inefficient. The most troubling report came from the Outer Rim territories. 3 minor species had quietly withdrawn from Council economic agreements and joined human trading networks instead. They claimed the new arrangements were more flexible and profitable. They are turning our own punishment into an advantage, Torgesh realized with growing horror. Military advisor Quindar brought the final piece of disturbing news. Sir, we have intercepted human communications discussing our enforcement efforts. They are calling it Tuesday. Tuesday? Apparently, it is what they call a normal day of the week. They have created a schedule for dealing with our blockades. Mondays for rerouting cargo. Tuesdays for handling council interference. Wednesdays for filing legal paperwork. They have made opposing the most powerful organization in the galaxy into a routine work schedule. Torgesh stared at the galaxy map, watching human ships move freely through space despite everything the Council had thrown at them. For the first time in 3,000 years, their sanctions had made their target stronger instead of weaker. What do we do now? Asked a junior council member. Nobody had an answer. Military Commander Thexvar stood on the bridge of the Council dreadnought Inevitable Justice, watching the small human mining station through the main view screen. After 6 months of failed sanctions and ignored threats, the Council had finally authorized direct military action. Mining Station Echo 7 would be their message to humanity. Target confirmed. Reported weapons Officer Crixtel. 1 small mining facility. Minimal defensive systems. 47 human life signs detected. Thexvar felt the weight of history on his shoulders. This would be the first time in centuries that the Council had destroyed a civilian target to force compliance. The decision had not come easily, but humanity's stubborn indifference had left them no choice. All ships, this is command. He broadcast of 15 destroyers surrounding the station. Remember, this is a demonstration of Council authority. Quick, clean, overwhelming force. The humans must understand the consequences of defying us. The mining station hung peacefully in space, its lights blinking in regular patterns as automated systems continued their work. No distress signals, no evacuation procedures, no desperate pleas for mercy. Even now, Facing certain destruction, the humans maintained their infuriating calm. "Sir," Communications Officer Vexlin called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the station." "Put it through." A middle-aged human man appeared on screen, wearing a simple work uniform and safety helmet. Station Manager Cho Han-sol looked directly at the camera with the expression of someone dealing with a minor scheduling conflict. "Council ships, this is Mining Station Echo 7. We show you are in violation of Asteroid Belt Safety Protocol 15C by approaching within the minimum safe distance of active mining equipment. Please maintain at least 10 kilometers clearance to avoid debris hazards." Thexvar stared at the screen in disbelief. 16 Council warships surrounded their station, and the humans were concerned about safety protocols. "Human, you're ordered to evacuate immediately," Thexvar replied. "This facility will be destroyed in 5 minutes as punishment for your species. Continued defiance of Council authority." Hansol nodded politely and made a note on his tablet. "Understood. I will file the appropriate incident report. Our insurance company will need documentation of the action for the claim process. Can you provide your Council authorization number?" "Our authorization number?" "For the paperwork. Destruction of civilian facilities requires proper documentation under Galactic Insurance Regulation 344.12. I also need to know if this is classified as an act of war, a police action, or a natural disaster for tax purposes." Thexvar felt his 3 hearts beating rapidly. Even facing death, the humans wanted paperwork. "This is military action authorized by the full Council. You have 4 minutes to evacuate." "Right, military action. That simplifies things." Hansol continued typing on his tablet. "I have logged this as a Category 7 hostile event. Emergency evacuation procedures are now in effect. Please note that standard liability waivers do not apply in cases of deliberate military assault." The transmission ended. Thexvar watched through his scanners as evacuation pods began launching from the station in orderly sequence. No panic, no chaos, just efficient emergency procedures being followed exactly as trained. All ships opened fire. The combined firepower of 16 Council warships struck the mining station simultaneously. Particle beams, plasma cannons, and missile clusters reduced the facility to expanding clouds of metal and vapor in less than 30 seconds. The destruction was total and terrible. Thexvar waited for the human response. This had to break their strange indifference. They had just watched their own people die because of their government's stubborn refusal to submit. Surely now they would understand the Council's power. The response came 3 days later. Director Park Min-jun of the Human Mining Consortium stood behind a simple podium, reading from prepared statement. His voice was calm and professional, like someone delivering a quarterly business report. "Industrial accident at Mining Station Echo. 7 resulted in total facility loss and 47 fatalities," he read. "Preliminary investigation indicates the incident was caused by hostile alien military action. New safety protocols are being implemented to address this previously unencountered hazard." Thexvar listened with growing horror as the human continued. "Insurance claims have been filed through the appropriate channels. Station Echo 7. Alpha will be operational in 4 months with improved defensive systems designed to handle similar industrial hazards. Hazard pay for mining operations in contested space has been increased by 15% to ensure adequate staffing." That was it. No declaration of war, no calls for revenge, no desperate pleas to the Council for mercy. The humans had classified an alien military strike as an industrial accident and moved on with their lives. 4 months later, Mining Station Echo 7. Alpha came online exactly on schedule. Thexvar's reconnaissance reports showed defensive systems that had not existed on the original station. When he ordered another attack to test their resolve, 3 Council destroyers were destroyed while causing only minor damage to the new facility. The humans' response to this escalation was even more disturbing. They sent a bill for debris cleanup to the Council's diplomatic mission, filed through proper legal channels with a 30-day payment deadline, and a polite note about environmental responsibility in space. "They are treating us like a natural disaster," Thexvar reported to the Emergency Council session. "Like bad weather to be planned around, not enemies to be feared or respected." Chairman Torgesh studied the intelligence reports with growing unease. Every other species in Council history had responded to military action with either surrender or retaliation. Humans responded with improved safety procedures and insurance claims. They do not see us as conquerors or liberators, he realized with chilling clarity. They see us as a workplace hazard. Council Intelligence Officer Nexival walked into Grand Assembly Chamber carrying 8 months of research that would change everything. Data crystals floated around her like glowing satellites as the full council watched from their ceremonial positions. Every major species in the galaxy had representatives present, all waiting to understand why their ultimate weapons had failed against one stubborn species. Honored council members, she began, her voice carrying across the vast crystal chamber. I have completed the comprehensive behavioral analysis of human civilization. What I discover will disturb you. Chairman Torgesh leaned forward on his massive throne, his ancient eyes focused intently. Explain why our threats mean nothing to them. Because they genuinely do not need our approval to exist, Nexival replied simply. The words hung in the air like a dangerous truth waiting to explode. She activated the first data crystal, showing psychological profiles of hundreds of different species. Every civilization we have encountered operates on external validation. The Zephyrians desperately want acceptance into galactic society. The Christek fear being cut off from trade networks. The Voltari will do anything to be seen as civilized and advanced. The display changed to show economic and social dependency charts. Lines connected every species to the Council through threads of need, fear, or desire for recognition. Our power has always come from their psychological need for approval, Nexival continued. We control them because they cannot bear the thought of standing alone in the galaxy. Isolation terrifies them more than death. Council member Crickstal's crystalline form flickered with confusion. But surely humans must fear isolation as well. All social species do. That is what makes them unique, Nexival said, activating another crystal. Humans built their entire civilization on a different principle. They answer only to themselves. The display showed human colonies scattered across space, each one functioning independently. Their trade networks, defense systems, and government structures all followed the same pattern: self-reliance with voluntary cooperation. Look at their history, she explained as images flowed across the screen. Every major human achievement came from someone who defied authority and thought differently. Their greatest heroes are rebels, inventors, and explorers who refuse to accept limits imposed by others. Military advisor Quindar's bioluminescent patches flashed nervously. But they must need our resources, our technology, our protection from hostile forces. They replaced everything we cut off within weeks, Nexival replied, showing shipping manifests and production reports. More efficiently than before in many cases. We learned they were traded with us as a courtesy, not because they needed us. She brought up recordings of human communications intercepted during the crisis. Government officials discussing the Council's ultimatum with the same tone they use for budget meetings. Military commanders treating alien threats as routine training exercises. Citizens barely noticing that their species was supposedly facing extinction. They are not brave, she explained. They are not foolish. They simply do not require external validation to feel secure or successful. When we threaten to exclude them from galactic society, they respond with indifference because they never needed to be included in the first place. The chamber fell silent except for the soft breathing of hundreds of different species. The implications were staggering and terrifying. What you are saying, Torgesh said slowly, is that our greatest weapon is useless against them. Worse than useless, Nexival confirmed. Our sanctions made them stronger by forcing them to optimize their systems. Our military attacks were treated as workplace hazards to be managed, not existential threats to be feared. She activated the final data crystal, showing the broader picture of human psychology. Every other species seeks to belong to something larger than themselves. Humans believe they already are something larger than anything else. They do not fear standing alone because they never considered themselves small. At that moment, as if summoned by the discussion, Ambassador Ominji's voice came through the communication system. Her tone was cheerful and professional, like someone calling a follow-up on a forgotten appointment. Council Chairman Torgesh? This is Ambassador, returning your call from 6 months ago. Sorry for the delay, but we have been dealing with some mining safety issues and regulatory updates. I hope you understand how bureaucracy can be. The entire assembly listened in stunned silence as the human continued. Anyway, we have finished reviewing your previous message through the appropriate committees. Rather than continuing with the current approach, we would like to invite you to discuss a mutually beneficial trade agreement. We have developed some fascinating new technologies that might interest your member species. Our fusion efficiency improvements could reduce energy costs by 30%, and our new defensive systems might help with the piracy problems in the outer sectors. There was a brief pause before she added, we could also share our administrative efficiency protocols. I noticed your ultimatum process took quite a long time to implement. We might be able to help streamline that for future situations. The communication ended with a polite reminder about scheduling the meeting at everyone's earliest convenience. Nexival looked around the chamber at faces filled with the dawning realization that everything they understood about power was wrong. Fear only worked on those who could be made afraid. Exclusion only hurt those who needed to belong. What do we do now? Asked a junior council member. Torgesh studied the data one final time before speaking. We learned to negotiate, he said quietly. For the first time in council history, we have metaspecies that cannot be controlled because they do not fear standing alone. The age of threats was over. The age of actual diplomacy had begun.